It is just not fair. Why are there only 8 countries in the world who have nuclear weapons? Those pesky countries are always getting in the way of my military ambitions.
Want to be a nuclear power? No problem, just follow our 9 easy steps.
Step 1. Source uranium or plutonium.
If you're an evil dictator who is trying to create a nuclear weapon in secret, then your best option is going to be uranium, because plutonium comes from used fuel and specific type of nuclear reactors. But if you start building such a reactor in your country, it may make everyone suspicious.
Then let me look around so I can ease the UN's collective mind.
You breaking my balls here, huh? You breaking my balls!
And we don't want that. So we're going with uranium, which is mined commercially all over the world and is sold in a powder called yellow cake. Iran, for example, mines its own yellow cake, but you can also just buy from Kazakstan, Canada, or Australia, who mine tons of the stuff. Who am I kidding? It's probably going to be Kazakhstan. They mine 40% of the world's supply. There should be plenty under the table.
I like you. I like sex. It's nice.
How much do we need? Well, we don't actually need the yellow cake, which is most of uranium. What we need is uranium-235. That's the good stuff, capable of sustaining your nuclear reactors or nuclear fission. The little boy bomb dropped on Hiroshima had 56 kilograms, so you're going to want at least 50 kilograms if you want any kind of decent damage.
Okay, got it. So how do I turn my useless yellow cake into uranium-235?
Well, we'll get to that. First, as you're waiting for your delivery, you're going to need to sort out...
Step number 2. Storage and facilities.
Now that you have your 20 tons of yellow cake, you're going to need to store it somewhere when it arrives. So it's time to build your nuclear complex. Yay! Iran stores its supply at the Isfahan facility, south of Tehran, whilst Iraq's former leader, Saddam Hussein, kept his at Tuwaitha, south of Baghdad. Got it stored? Alright, you are now ready to start processing.
Step 3. Processing.
Before you can turn uranium-238 into sweet uranium-235, you need to turn it into uranium hexafluoride, which is an amazingly dangerous and corrosive chemical.
Yawn. Yeah, I'd just let my nuclear scientists take care of it.
Step 4. Source parts for thousands of centrifuges.
This is probably the most difficult part in the process. It's what separates the men from the boys and U-235 from U-238. So we need to spin our uranium hexafluoride thousands of times per second and make the slightly heavier U-238 molecules separate from 235. So we're probably going to need to go to the black market, since legitimate nuclear suppliers are strictly regulated and will refuse to supply us. There's a vast market of underground smugglers who will try to sell you their parts and plans, and with some luck, you might just get enough working parts for your own centrifuge.
No, black markets are always scamming me. It's not working.
Okay, there is another way. Try to create a fake company that pretends to be another legit company. This is what North Korea did to get its hands on its centrifuges.
Step 5. Enrich the uranium.
Alright, some of the hardest challenges have now been solved. Your dream is close to becoming a reality. Next comes the slowest and most tedious part of the job, but through which we actually come to get our hands on the precious uranium-235. We pass our uranium hexafluoride between our centrifuges and let uranium-235 slowly build up. The actual process takes months to complete, and you may need 2 or 3 years to...
Do you have any idea how fucking busy I am?
Step 6. Design the device.
So how hard is this process? Not really that hard at all. This is John Custer Mullen. He reverse engineered the Little Boy and Fat Man bombs. What does he do for a living, you ask? Why, he's a truck driver, of course, who loves designing bombs for fun. That's our kind of guy. So while it took John about 19 years of his life to do this, if you manage to get a team with nuclear engineering backgrounds together, you might be able to develop your device in a matter of months, long before uranium has even finished its enrichment process.
Step 7. Manufacture the device.
So you have the uranium-235. Great, you have a designed device. Amazing! Now you're ready to make the actual bomb. This is where it gets really exciting. The first thing you're probably going to want to do is turn your precious enriched uranium from a gas into metal. Then you make sure that your uranium starts taking the shape that it needs to be for your bomb design, either 2 halves of a sphere for an implosion weapon or discs for a gun-type device. We have to warn you though, while this is not the most difficult phase of the overall process, it's the most likely part to blow up in your face. It won't be as bad as a full nuclear blast, but it might level your nuclear workshop.
Step 8. Delivery system.
What good is an idle bomb sitting in your facility? Ideally, you want to be able to deliver your device to your enemy's doorstep from your own launch location, because states that love nuclear also love missiles. Missile technology can be very tricky to develop, and similar to centrifuges, is tightly regulated, so you may once again need to go back to the black market for some parts. The easiest way, of course, is just to load your device onto an airplane and drop it as you fly over your target. For a lean startup like yourself, it is probably the most viable option. Developing ICBMs is literally rocket science. But if your team of engineers is up to the task, then let them try.
Step 9. Test and demonstrate.
This step is not mandatory, but it is valuable in the sense that it shows to other nations that you are a nuclear power. And that was probably the whole goal of this operation. These days, tests are done underground to contain radioactive fallout, so it will require digging a hole or finding an abandoned mineshaft that can be backfilled with rocks and gravel. Even if your test does not result in a mushroom cloud, the seismic activity and release of radiation particles will be noticed by the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty Organization, who monitor for this kind of activity. So then, after your test, you can finally sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. You have respect, power, and other countries will finally take you seriously. You can also blow up and exact revenge on all your worst enemies.
Like Troy. He knows it's your parking space, and still he takes it every single time. And then there's Ji Young. How dare she not reply to your DMs? They're all getting a present.
Or maybe not so much, because your economy is getting penalized by sanctions, which is exactly what happened to North Korea after it conducted its first nuclear test in October of 2006.
What was the point? The bomb doesn't actually protect me. It just gives me a big stick to threaten others with.
Hey, thanks for watching. So today the vast majority of nuclear weapons are made by countries that produce plutonium through their plutonium producing nuclear reactors. So they don't need to be secretive about it, and they can be open about it. But for a small country, it's definitely a big no-no to have a nuclear reactor that is producing enough plutonium for nuclear weapons. Probably most countries in the world are actually capable of producing their own nuclear weapons. But you know, I think most people realize that nuclear weapons don't really help you protect yourself. So most countries choose not to invest absurd amounts of money into their nuclear programs. The hardest part by far in the production of nuclear weapons is either the sourcing of plutonium or the enrichment of yellow cake. The rest of the process, relatively speaking, is pretty easy. Anyways, let me know what's up. So also, have a guess. What is this place? Sweet baby Jesus. I hate being in front of the camera.